No, no. Actually, I went through your profile, and I think I pretty like what you're doing and your work. I've seen reviews, and I know. I think you seem like a chill guy. I think you have experience. You're also playing the game like since launch. I think you or
Yeah,
what's your story with the game?
season three. Yeah, I've been playing for since season three.
Okay.
Pretty consistently. I've only ever taken like month-long breaks from the game, and
Okay.
like only like twice. So I've been playing for a
Yeah.
long time. I have a lot of experience in the game.
Awesome. Awesome.
So yeah, we can just go ahead and look to get started then, and it'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Okay. Perfect. Yep.
Get in there.
All right. So, first thing we're looking at, we'll just talk about tiny things, and then we'll, that add up,
Mhm.
and we'll go over bigger things as we go along here. First thing we're looking for every single game on Zarya is energy, right? Because energy is kind of the lifeblood of Zarya. It's how we do things. So let's look at this first bubble that we put on Diva, right? So this first bubble we
Okay.
put on Diva, the only person who can actually see at Diva and shoot at Diva are Junkrat and the other Diva. Junkrat
Okay.
is a projectile character, and he's not shooting shots, right? So, we don't want to bubble when we don't see shots incoming, right? We bubble when we see damage that's coming in, when we know that people are looking at someone and shooting at somebody. Junkrat's not looking at at the diva and is not shooting at the
Mhm.
diva. Therefore, it's a bad. It doesn't do anything for Junkrat. And let's look at the enemy diva. The enemy diva does not do any damage at this rank. Or sorry, not this rank. This range is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Right? At
Yeah.
this range, Steve is a very close range character. She's not going to do anything from this range. So therefore, this bubble's just not going to do anything because no one's shooting at it, no one's looking at it, and the people who could look at it and shoot at it wouldn't do anything, right? The diva wouldn't do
Mhm.
any damage, right? So the bubble doesn't therefore do anything, right? So it
Get in
sits
there.
that's zero. And there it gets you one energy, right? Now we bubble, does a little bit more because we have Hog look at us, though we do back off like slightly early.
Get in
So like
there.
when
The
we have your
strike
bubble
is
active,
won.
probably want to be like slightly more forwards, right? So here,
Aim
notice how
your
we
best
bubble,
shot.
and then we still bubble up. Yeah, we back up around the corner before like bubble even ends, right? Probably stay up there a little
Okay.
bit further. And we also bubble like the moment we
Get
turn the
in there.
corner, right? Like but people aren't going to know that we're here and be looking at us and shooting at us the moment we turn the corner. So
Mm,
might want to give it like an extra second
The
before we
strike is
start
won.
actually bubbling after we turn this corner. So
Charging up.
just
yeah.
right off the bat, just some bubble things, and then that means that we use 2 bubbles and only get 13 energy out of it, right?
That's great. Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, because I usually like normally I just press it before going in, and yeah, I waste like an extra second or so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it only lasts
makes
like two.
total sense.
Yeah, it only lasts 2 seconds. You want to press it while people are looking at you and while people are shooting at you, not when they can't do that, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Get inside.
From Russia with love.
Okay.
Barrier activated.
So once again, people aren't really shooting at us. So Junkrat starts shooting at us here. This would be a perfect opportunity for a bubble, as Junkrat's shooting at us, and since he has a very slow projectile, we can just kind of walk into his shots, right? So if we wanted to
Mhm.
here, we could just walk to the right and just eat up those shots with a bubble.
Mhm.
Now we
Barrier
walk out here and we
activated.
bubble as if people are looking at us and shooting at us, but no one's looking at us and no one's shooting
Yeah.
at us, right?
Yeah.
So again, let's just talk about energy real quick, right? Just because energy is so insanely important on Zarya, right? So when you
Mhm.
have um high energy, right? High energy means that you're doing a lot more damage. When you do a lot more damage, you get more ult charge and you get a lot more kills. When you get more ults, you again get a lot more kills, and when you get a ton of kills, you end up winning a lot of fights and a lot of games as a result, right? Now, on top of that, bubbles also are your tanking value, right? On Zarya, it's how you do tanking, and it's how you create space as Zarya, and that's what your role is supposed to be. So overall, bubbles are very, very important, and so far we haven't seen very good bubble usage because it's kind of
Mhm.
the very basics of how you do things on
Yeah.
Zarya, right? Because you could have the best mechanics in the world on Zarya and be at zero energy the entire time and be doing very, very little because you wouldn't really be able to secure kills, right? But if you are
Mhm.
100 energy, you could have pretty bad mechanics and still be able to do things because you have such a high damage output, right? So this is of course you have the steps after energy, like once you get energy, you need to know how to use it. You need to know who to shoot at, when, where to be, where to position, and whatnot. You need to know how to stay alive with it and keep your energy up. But the first step is actually getting energy, right? And so far we're not executing that first step because our bubbles aren't doing anything.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Also noticing that we're playing very passive and we're not really doing very much. So this gets into what you call actions per minute. And in
Okay.
general, we want to make sure we're doing as much as possible at all times, right? So what if you were to, for example, compare a grandmaster player to a bronze player, right? A
Mm-hmm.
grandmaster player is going to be, with mistakes included, be efficient pretty much every single second of their gameplay, right? They're going to be constantly doing something. Whereas if you look at a bronze
Mm-hmm.
player, they might be going pew pew shoot shoot in the fight and then randomly take a 5-second break, right? And then
Okay.
pew pew shoot shoot and then take a 10-second pause to look at the scenery or walk around, right? So
Mm-hmm.
look at our gameplay here, right? How we're going in, we go in pew pew shoot shoot, or sorry, I
Mm-hmm.
guess we don't go pew pew shoot shoot shoot. So here we from this point onwards, we have a random pause. So let's like count like the seconds here during this fight. So
Mm-hmm.
this is fine. We're rotating. We kill the turrets. All
Get
good. All
inside.
good.
From Russia to
Right,
the
and then we
lava.
rotate, and then we can see them here, and we could be shooting.
Uh-huh.
When you can see people, you should be constantly outputting damage, right? Just you
Yes.
should never not be shooting, essentially, when you have the option and you're in the middle of a fight. Now, there's some situations where you wouldn't, like let's say you're trying to be sneaky or something. Of course, you wouldn't shoot them if you're trying to hide from them. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if the fight's happening here, you would just be right now. We'd just be lobbing and right clicks, right? Is what we'd be doing right now.
Yeah.
And right now we should be maybe pushing forwards a little bit, getting bubbles off, creating space. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, we go 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we spend 5 seconds sitting off on the side doing nothing, and then we
Yeah.
aren't
Yeah.
shooting, we aren't bubbling, and then we come in here, and then we aren't shooting, all right, and then we shoot, and then we back off immediately, right? We're not,
Yeah.
when we're not really pressured, we still have all of our health, we still have, teammates with us, we have some cover we can use, no one's really shooting at us at the moment, right? Yeah, we're backing off and not doing very
Mm-hmm.
much, and then we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're rotating. This is fine.
Go.
That we're doing some stuff, right? But another 6-second pause, right? So far during this
Yeah.
fight, we've maybe wasted like 15 seconds where we're just not really doing anything, right? Where we're not
Mm-hmm.
participating, and then
Yep.
that really adds up when that's every single fight of the entire game, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're not helping. Yeah, on the team fights. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right. So there,
Get in here.
Don't hold back.
probably don't want to just drop for no reason here. Probably just say stay on the high ground. As
Mm-hmm.
high ground gives you a ton of advantages. Why don't we talk about that, right? We're gonna be going over a lot of just. I'm just gonna be talking and talking and
Mm-hmm.
talking because there's a lot to talk on here. But high ground is fantastic positioning, right? So when we're on a high ground, right, it all acts as natural cover. So they can, let's say we're right here, right? They can see
Mm-hmm.
us. Now they can't see us. They can see us. Now they can't see us, right? So the entire thing
Yeah.
acts as natural cover. So we have good positioning on that end. Right on top of that, on a high ground, most characters can't reach you. So take a look at their team comp, and we go, okay, well, McCree
Mm-hmm.
can't get to us. Hog can't get to us. Symmetra needs to use teleporter to get to us, right?
Uh-huh.
The Diva needs to use boosters, and the Junkrat
The
needs to use a mine,
boosters.
right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
half the
Yep.
characters can't reach us, and then the other half need to use abilities, in which case now they're out of abilities. So this gives us
Mm-hmm.
an extra layer of survivability, right? And then thirdly, all
Wow.
of high
Yeah.
ground gives you visibility, right? So we can see stuff over here, right? We can walk up a couple extra steps, and we can see in here and over here and all the way over here, right? So we can see a lot of stuff. Whereas if we were to drop to a low ground, well, now from here we can't see around that corner. We can't see any of the high ground, right? So we end up missing out on a lot of visibility as well, right? And then also we miss out on an opportunity to contest enemy players on high grounds, right? Like we're not able to
Mm,
contest
yeah.
Junkrat anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
there, probably say you could just stick on a high ground and just shoot at Symmetra just as easily from high ground as from dropping, and this also puts us in a more dangerous position to where, like, let's say Hog and Lucio were to turn around, and now we have 3 people looking at us and shooting at us, and we're kind of out in the open without any
Yeah.
cover to use. So
Ready for
now
battle.
this was a good bubble though, because we do get a lot of energy out of that, and we did it while people were looking at us and shooting at us, so therefore that was a pretty solid bubble. We also back off again. We kind of back off away from Symmetra as if we're kind of scared of her here, where
Yeah.
we have higher as of the moment with her not having her beam charged up. We have higher damage output than her. We have more health than her, right? And probably if
And the
we
bubble.
and
Yeah.
and we had a bubble, right? So, but we're
Yeah.
kind of backing off here for
Yeah.
probably no reason. And then Hog hooks us. So there we die because we're just a little too far forwards, a little maybe not using cover. We might get into cover usage here in a minute.
Loser. Barrier is on you. Go.
Oh, so there we used it, yes, when Hog is looking at somebody, but it's also when Hog is shooting at somebody too. So the problem was that right as we bubble, Hog is was looking to like E, and then he ended up healing there instead of shooting. So
Yeah. Yeah.
good shots.
Bring it.
Yeah, Baby Diva was behind us for a little bit there. Right, so like a couple things here. So first off, audio awareness, right? So when it comes to Baby Diva was just kind of running around in your back line, and we didn't seem to notice her, right? So we can hear her footsteps, right? Here we can see that cart is contested. When it comes to audio awareness, a couple things I would recommend is go to your sound settings and turn up your normal volume if needed. Turn down music volume because this can clutter up your audio. I'm not aware of how the software for headphones works on consoles on PS4
Yep.
or not, but if your headset does not have surround sound as an option, there is a surround sound option in game. Dolby Atmos for headphones is right there, and you can turn this on, and that will give you surround sound in game so you can hear where people
Nice.
are. And then finally, just make sure that you're actively paying attention to your surroundings, right? That you're listening for footsteps, for gunshots, for ultimates and abilities, right? You're just paying attention to that so that, Baby Diva isn't just contesting car here for free and we can kill her a little bit faster here, right? And then that is what you call awareness, right? Of paying attention to our environment. Here, Junkrat shoots some shots into us. We bubble, but by the time we bubble, he's no longer shooting at us.
Protect the payload.
Okay. Look to bubble somebody who's actually in danger there. Diva is probably not in danger, being Diva's the furthest. We hear the tires coming from the top left. We know it's coming there because we're running away. Yet we bubble Diva, who's probably the furthest away from it, right? When these guys are all the ones in danger here, right? So might want to turn around and bubble one of these guys, and then that would save their lives, or save, and then that gets you a bunch of energy. Even if, let's say, that it killed them or whatever, right? We still get energy out of it, and we still get tanking out of it. We keep somebody alive, right? So it's just be good to do that.
I am healed.
Okay. Note just kind of camera angles and kind of slow turning where where's the enemy team? If there's an enemy team here, where are they going to be at?
Here, in this case, like to the right.
To the right. So why are we looking straight forwards while we're turning this corner, right? So when we could, for example, be looking right side as we're walking left, and then have visibility, over everything this entire time, right? If we're just walking left and looking right, and we can just see everything. Whereas here we kind of just stare at the wall and stare, and then do a very slow turn as we're coming up here. So it should probably just be that's what you call pre-aiming, and just pre-aim already to the right.
Yep. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Yep. So here dropping is fine because you're dropping to the cart. Again, we bubble, but it's against one solo Lucio when he wasn't really shooting at you. So therefore, he's a character who doesn't do very much damage. He wasn't shooting at you, and you probably might want to bubble when more people are looking at you. So not a very great bubble.
Okay.
Probably no reason to be backing up at the moment because no one was really contesting us. Yet again, nobody's looking at or shooting at Mercy, right? So Mercy bubble doesn't do anything. And that bubble was completely fine, because that bubble right there was when we had, you know, a ton of people looking at us and shooting at us, right? Like right here, we have 3 people who are looking at us and 3 people who are in the middle of shooting at us, and then therefore bubble does something and we get tanking, and then also we get a bunch of energy out of it, right? So now we're at 40.
Yeah.
Okay, now once let's talk about a couple things here. We're at 240 if you can remember the time there. So we're gonna go over a couple things. So now we have energy, a little bit of energy, you know, not preferable amount of energy, but still we have it's better than 0, right? We need to know how to capitalize on it and how to use it. So let's talk about left click versus right click usage, right? And how to be using it. So essentially you have different times that you use left click versus right click, right? You don't just kind of do them randomly, right? You have times in which they're useful. So left click is going to be your consistent source of damage. So if you can be left clicking, you should probably be left clicking. So that means that if we're within range of left clicking, we should be left clicking. You can tell that you're within range of left clicking. It is like a 15-meter distance, so that is like right here to the bot. We can be left clicking. You see the white markers come out of our crosshair when we hit the shots. When we're not hitting shots, you do not see white markers, and their health will not go down, and you won't hear any sounds. If we're outside of that range, you should be right clicking, because you cannot do, because this is our, you should just constantly be right clicking so we can still be getting damage in even if we're outside of range of left click, right? Now the other time, if we're within it, we shouldn't be right clicking, but there are some times where we do, right? The biggest situation where we would right click when we're within range is to finish off a kill, because when we get someone down low on health, we can right click melee and burst down their health really fast. And when we burst down their health, this means they don't have time to heal, to get away, to go and and escape with movement or abilities or whatever, right? It secures the kill and it keeps them dead. So we probably, whenever someone's low, you want to right click melee. When you have more energy, your right click will do more damage, and then therefore they can be higher health. When you're like 100 energy, sometimes you can basically do it when they're like half HP. You can right click melee them. But when you're at 0 energy, it's going to be more like 50 HP, right? Something like that. Or sorry, no, like a little bit over 50, like 70 HP, I think that is what that was, right?
Yeah.
But if you end up getting out of range of left click or of melee, you just normal right click, and then if you get too far, like if you get past 10 meters-ish, you should just finish them off with a left click, because right click would just take too long of a travel time, right? Some other tiny things for reference, just on Zarya here, other tiny tech things. Your right click and your ultimate have the exact same projectile path. So if we right clicked and it hit that spot, the grab will also hit that same spot. So that's for if you're trying to throw a longer range grab, which aren't always going to be great. Longer range grabs aren't always going to be fantastic, but for the rare situations in which you would use a longer range grab, that's going to be helpful to land it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah.
Yep. But a lot of times, a lot of times you're also going to want to be close to people while you're grabbing. So I would say that's not one that you're going to be using too often.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so another tech that you can use is while you're walking back from spawn, if you look at the ground and you right click and jump at the same time, this actually ups your movement speed while you're walking, and this means that you're going to be going places faster.
Nice.
Now, this also does damage to yourself, but if you notice, you have shield health, which just
shield,
heals.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go lower than your shield health, and when you're walking back to a fight, you want to give it time to recharge. So let's say fight's happening on point over there, we would walk out of spawn, right click, jump a little bit, get back faster. Once we get around here, we would, reload, let our health regenerate. So, oh, someone shot me. Let our health regenerate, so that way by the time we get back to the fight, we have full health and ammo, right? So that's, and then I also probably wouldn't do it too often in the middle of a fight unless you like really need it. And then let's move on to positioning. So positioning, if we are standing right here, right, and the enemy team is standing right there, and they are looking at me and shooting at me, it takes me 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover, right? Now from this point, you cannot shoot through solid objects, so we're safe, right? But in that time it took us to walk here, we died, right? Because we are too far out in the open.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're standing right here, we can do largely the same amount of things, except for now it takes us half a second to duck behind cover, right? Which is 6 times faster than what it took us previously. So therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover, right? So there's a lot of different types of cover. There's slopes, like so. We have pillars that we can use in between shots when we're reloading, when we're low health, when we're being shot at. We have pillar corners we can use. We have random objects like the payload. We have a pillar, corner, doorway, corner. It's all over the place, right? You have high grounds like we discussed, right? We just want to make sure we're using that. So that's pretty much it from what I was talking about, I think,
I
for
am
the
the
moment.
champion.
Great.
So we were on Route 66. Oh, it looks like it was an arcade game. What arcade mode was this?
This is quick play.
Okay. Why did? Oh, is this open queue?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
okay?
This is quick play classic, the
Okay,
open
okay.
one, because I was doing the arcade, the loot boxes with the summer games with my brother. So yeah, here team composition is not the best, but
Uh-uh. I am not a
Yeah,
loser.
that makes sense. Right, where were we? We're further than that.
Barrier
We're like
activated.
2 something, 230.
240 ish.
Yeah.
I think we were like 240. Yeah,
Somewhere around here, yeah. So that's where I was
yeah,
talking about, like
yeah,
right here where we were right. This is
yeah.
where I noticed the right clicking, where we're first of all we right click into a wall here, right? So just
Uh-huh.
making sure we're
Yeah.
aiming where people actually are, right? Then we also right click at the Symmetro, even though she's within range of left click, right?
Mm.
Probably should be left clicking here instead of right clicking. Okay, probably want to be bubbling soon. Yep, decent bubble though. She flew away, which stunk. Right. Bubble a little bit earlier there because we see the projectile incoming and we have bubble, right? So like right here, bubble, but saves us damage, gets us a bunch of ult charge, but we let her shoot us once and then shoot us, and then we get shot again, so we get down real low health. That would be within the range where you right click melee.
I know. Need healing. I need healing.
Okay, when we're trying to get away from bomb, right?
Need healing.
Don't just run a lot of times, right? Unless you're like on the very edge, because you can get far enough away. Because like if we're all the way back here, it's not going to do damage to us, right? But unless you're like on the edge of that, don't try to run away from bomb because you're not going to make it. Try to get around the corner. So for example, where we are currently, bomb would not hit us, right? Because we're crouched too low, and actually maybe it would. Around this corner though, right? Bomb would
Okay.
not hit us, right? So if we just get around the cart here to the right corner, well now we're completely safe, right? So let's see, do we have any teammates who do that? No, because they all back up away, right? McCree, and then
Mm.
also notice that McCree ran towards cover, right? But and that could be the other place we go to, but we end up just walking forwards, right? So
Mm.
probably wanted to be getting behind cover there instead of just walking on the open, and then that keeps us alive. And then obviously we can't do anything while we're dead, and then we lose impact and value while we're dead.
Barriers on you. Go. Ready for battle.
Okay, once again, make sure we're bubbling when they're shooting at you, not just looking at you, right?
I am the champion. Barriers on you.
Okay, good bubble. Good job beaming her down there. Though once we're off the kill, once we get that kill there, just mechanical wise, I'd make sure you're practicing at actually acquiring new targets, because like notice here, like after we kill the Symmetra, we're on the Symmetra, fine tracking, but then like we kind of acquire nobody here, where we're just shooting at the wall, and then we're over to somebody else. So
Mm.
make sure we're acquiring targets a little bit faster. We also get into a little bit of target priority here. So let's talk about target priority, right? Target priority is essentially the very basics of it is that we don't want to shoot at tanks, right? Tanks have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have tanking
Mm.
abilities. They have armor. They have, and they have, a lot of things that make them much harder to kill. On top of this, DPS are the ones that output damage, and supports are the ones who output healing. Whereas tanks, even though they're a very important role, they don't output anything. Their job is to create space, right? So that means that we probably want to be killing the other characters. So when we have equal opportunity, that this right now is equal opportunity, we have the exact equal chance to shoot at Lucio, Junkrat, and Roadhog. our target should probably be Lucio here, right? Not Roadhog, right? Now there are times in which we do, it's not to say that we never shoot at tanks, right? We shoot at tanks when they're low, when they're out of position, when they're the only thing to shoot at, right? That's when we shoot at tanks, but we don't shoot at tanks when we don't, have a reason to. Now here, I think once we were on Lucio, we probably should have stuck on Lucio here. Then we shoot a hog, right, which is okay. He wasn't low when we started shooting at him, and he wasn't ulting. Now he starts ulting, which is, or sorry, he heals up, right? Wait, was he? Wait, I'm confused. Did he stop ulting once we started shooting at him? Wait, when did he ult? Oh, he didn't have ult. Wait, I'm confused. Didn't it show him ulting before? Oh, I'm dumb. I think I just saw him shooting and thought he was ulting. In any case, right, like it became okay because your team was focusing him, but we notice just how we don't do any damage at all, right?
Yeah.
So we end up not getting the kill, even though we're high energy, just because we're looking at the wrong thing, right? So like I said, you can look at tanks when they're low, out of position, or if they're the only thing you can shoot at. But actively seek out the other characters. Here as well, we're not paying attention to the hog hook or the high noon, both of which can be very easily dodged out if we just get around the corner. Right? We also walk forwards, right? We get like really close to the hog here and don't use cover when we could be standing here, and if hog tries to hook us, boop, hook cancels, or he can't hook us, right? High noon, boop, high noon can't see us, right? But instead we walk into this area where there's no cover, and when we don't need to get this close, right? Look at your beam range, right? We don't need to be this close to hog to shoot at him, right? And then that ends up getting us killed because we get hooked in high noon. So, look to get energy, look to stay alive, look to do things with your energy. Kind of some of the points of the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so his bubbles are doing a little bit better now. Okay, good bubble. Good bubble again. Now we're 100 energy. Oh, gotta... Okay, so we push forwards there. We got him down to like 1 HP. We reloaded. And then we end up backing up. So first off, like we wrap around this side when this would just put us closer. So from here, we would be able to see the Roadhog, right, and shoot at him. And then we also back up, and instead of maybe staying where we can shoot him, and then also we missed the right click, right? So we got him down to 1 HP, but we weren't able to capitalize because we backed up too far. We missed the right click as well.
I am healed.
Good health pack awareness. Bubble came before we even saw who was shooting at him, but it still did things. That's good.
Maximum charge.
And make sure we're not holding left click when we're not shooting at anybody. Like here, we just hold it down when there's nobody to shoot at. You can also not damage the mech when it's breaking, and then therefore we just end up wasting the entire clip. Instead, just reload so that you have all your ammo to work with and you're not just kind of wasting time.
60 seconds remaining.
Okay. Notice as well there was a little bit more of like just kind of actions per minute. We're just kind of sitting there, right? So like from this point onwards, we just kind of for some reason back up out of the fight when we probably should be getting more aggressive at the moment. Let's talk about kill feed watching. So how to tell whether or not you're winning or losing the fight. When this all comes mainly down to watching kill feed, the top right corner of your screen. When you are up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage, right? At that point, you get more aggressive because they have less people to shoot at you and damage you and to heal in the tank, right? When you are up 2 to 3 people, that is a 1 fight. That would be this scenario where it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 5.5. Baby Diva counts as a half versus 1, 2.5, right? So this is a 1 fight. At this point, you get super aggressive because they have so little people to shoot at you that they're barely not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to kill you. Now, we are 200 HP, so we might want to get healed up first, but we don't want to be backing up into, into our spawn. We also don't want to use ultimates because we've already won the fight. And this also goes the exact opposite way, too. When we are down 1 to 2 people, that is a disadvantage, right? We might want to play a little bit more passive because we are losing the fight, but we haven't lost it yet. And then when we are down 2 to 3, that is a lost fight, right? At that point, we don't use ults. We also look to get out if possible, and if we cannot get out, we let them kill us. So we don't end up staggering ourselves, which just means dying late and then wasting time for our team. So here, notice that we're winning, and we have most of our health, yet we back up right? And we, even though we get healed, right, we back up and it's 1,
60
2,
seconds remaining.
3, 4, 5,
Get in there.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Now we're shooting and stuff, right? So there's, that random 11-second pause, right, in our gameplay when we should have been getting really aggressive, right? So now us us having won that fight, we now weren't, because we didn't do anything, we didn't capitalize on the one fight, and then we just let everybody respawn and come back, right, for free.
Yeah.
And then now this is no longer a one fight because they have all their players back, right? So we want to make sure we're pushing in and getting aggressive when we have won the fight. And on top of that, might want to focus the people who aren't like super difficult to kill. Like these guys are gonna be really hard to kill up there on the high ground. So maybe the focus like the Lucio who's like right next to you, right? Or the Hog who's right next to you, that sort of thing. Again, this is audio awareness of paying attention to these people who are next to us because I don't even think we know that they're there.
Heroes never die.
Ready for battle.
Take cover.
30 seconds remaining. Barriers on you.
Okay, noting that it's now been 2 fights since we've had grab, or a fight and a half, or something of that sort, right? So just keeping in mind that ultimates that are not used don't do anything, they don't get any value at all. So we want to make sure we're using our ultimates and not holding on to them, because if we do, they don't do anything.
My ultimate is ready.
Okay. So Junkrat's above us as of the moment. Again, just knowing that we're just kind of sitting here at the moment instead of, just again another random like pause when we could be doing things. Right, like here, there's some people up on the high ground, then we sit here and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, now we're going in, but notice how we're again out in the open, really far out in the open without any cover. We're pushing in really aggressive, but we're pushing in really aggressive when they have a Lucio beat and everybody has like 1,000 HP. So this is the time where we probably want to be playing passive, not aggressive. And then also noting that we're trying to shoot at the person who's like going to be really hard to kill because he's up on a high ground, right? Instead of the Lucio again, who's like right next to us, or the Hog who's right next to us, right? So this would be a scenario where yes, he's a squishy target, but he's really outside of our range to be able to actually kill effectively, right?
Ready for battle.
Probably also should be using grab here. Okay, probably also should be touching card, so a couple things. First off, we're not using grab, right? So it's not doing anything here. Secondly, this if we right clicked the Baby Diva there, I think you probably would be able to stop her from getting into the mech, and then that's an example of a time where that stops her from escaping and secures the kill if you would right click.
Yeah.
And then also we were out in the open and we didn't grab it, we were out in the open and then we died as a result, right? So we died and we ended up dying a lot this game, right? And that means we lost a lot of value. So let's just I can't remember actually how many times we died. So let's like go through one moment here and go and just skip through and count how many times we died. Because we died quite a bit. Right? We died
Yeah.
Don't.
one time. Okay. 2 times.
I.
3 times. Okay, 3 times, and then I think it's just the 4th last time. Okay, so we died 4 times
Yeah.
in a 5-minute game, right? Or sorry, 5 minutes in like 30 seconds or something of that sort, right? Which is not a great thing, death rate, right? Just because that means that we lose value. Just to emphasize the seriousness of deaths, every time you die, it's 10 seconds of respawn time, but then also 10 seconds of walk back time. So it's 20 seconds per death, right? And that really adds up throughout the course of a game, right? Let's talk about like a competitive game where you die. Let's say it's a like 16-minute game, and if we kept up this current rate of death, which is almost 1 a minute, we would probably maybe in a 16-minute game have like 14 deaths, right? Something like that, maybe 13 deaths, right? So if we had 13 deaths, right? If we do 13 times 20 and then divided by 60. And that means that we would be dead for 4 minutes and 20 seconds, right? Which is an insane amount of time to be dead for, because that could be like 3 grabs. That could be a ton of damage, a ton of kills, right? In that time, you doing a ton of things. And on top of that, it's not you not existing. It's you not it's you actively putting your team at a disadvantage, right? Because we just talked about, the kill feed and how fights are won and lost, and we're actively putting our team down a player each time we die. So we want to look to stay alive, right? Make sure he's in cover, and then also use grab, because so far, this game we didn't use grab at all in 3 fights, right? And in that time, we probably could have had those 3 fights that we didn't use grab, we probably could have gotten 2 grabs off, right? In the time that we used 0. Right? Which is now an infinite amount of more value, because 0 is 0 value. So we want to make sure you're actually using grab and not holding on to it, because it doesn't do anything if you hold on to it. And then that is about it for this game. So we have like 10 more minutes that we'll go over games for. Do you have another code you'd like to go over?
Yeah, let's see. Let me check real quick. So I wanted. Yeah, so maybe I wanted to practice, Baptiste, the support guy,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm trying to learn him, because he's kind of new to me since I'm coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So look, so it's 6
Hmm?
EH
Yep.
CTV.
All right.
Welcome to Paris.
Yeah, there you go.
Ready for battle.
Lifting off. Nothing to worry.
Ready. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
So is this our just wondering, is this our first game playing the character, or is this just us just trying to practice the character?
No, like this. I'm trying to practice. I've played a couple of games with him, but
Okay.
I'm just getting used to his mechanics and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so first off, I would just say you crouch jumping here is just slowing us down. It doesn't really do anything for us here. Just notice how everyone pulls really far ahead of us just because we do
Yeah.
those crouch jumps. So probably that didn't really get us too much use.
Okay.
Assistance would be appreciated.
All better. So tiny things, again, another on the note of tiny things that can add up, right? So this is just what you call overhealing. When somebody is full HP and we're attempting to still heal them, it accomplishes nothing, and in fact wastes time and resources, right? Because this is time that we could be reloading, could be shooting, could be using abilities, could be looking around for somebody else who needs healing, could be doing literally anything else with their time, yet we're wasting ammo and wasting time, right? And if this continues, I've known people who have gone probably usually it's especially on Baptiste, but it's also Mercy. Baptiste and Mercy are the 2 big culprits. But I've had people who have gone 13 seconds a fight, right, where they are just overhealing, which means that not only are they not participating while they're dead, but they're also not participating in the middle of fights, right? It's essentially the time we were talking about before, where we're just kind of not there, right? So that really adds up if it's 13 seconds a fight, and here we just we shoot at them when they're all full HP, like Junkrat's full HP there, and he's full HP even though he's full through a wall, because you can actually see the coloring on him. He is green, which means that he's full HP. If he were yellow, that means he would be down a little bit of HP, and it actually will get dark. The yellow will get darker and darker and darker as they lose HP. So notice Reinhardt there was yellow, because he was down HP, and then let's see it again, right? Reinhardt's yellow if you look at the left, right? And then if he were to be critical, it would show critical, but it'd also be a really dark orange. Okay.
Get in here.
Okay. When you place immortality fields, the same principles of positioning apply to immortality fields too, right? Probably it'd just be a much better idea to place it right here, right around the corner, so that they can't just shoot it for free and it stays up longer, right? Instead of placing it on the open where anybody can shoot at it and kill it. Alright, so notice here that first off we kind of walk out into the open, again leaving cover, but then also we miss like every shot on a 1 HP Moira, which is very unfortunate, right? Because she's like 1 HP
Yeah.
there, and then we miss all the shots, and then we get hacked, and then we're dead, right? So cover usage, don't miss your shots, and maybe don't walk that far into their team out in the open. And then therefore we're dead again, right?
Regen up. Get in here.
Okay. Immortality is used when people are low and in danger, right? Not one or not, and not the other, right? Ball is critical here, but is Ball in danger at the moment?
Yeah, no.
No, why?
Because she's right behind the wall, right?
Yeah, and
She got cover.
no one can
And I'm
shoot at him
healing
right
her.
now, right?
Yep, exactly, yeah.
So he's not in danger at the moment, even though he's low, right? And somebody can be in danger, and not need immortality because they aren't going to, because they're not
Mm,
actually low HP, right? So for example, like Reinhardt is in a decent amount of danger right now, but he's not low yet, right? Which means that
yeah.
he is currently not in need of immortality. So it's both of them. It's one and the other, not one or the other, right? So we want to make sure, because this is just a waste of an immortality here in this situation. Okay, noting that shields block your shot, your shots heal shots. So here we try to right click through this, even though it just blocks it. Okay. Good shift. Make sure we're not we're not just shooting the wall there. We're just left clicking.
My thanks. Regen burst activated. Experience tranquility. Let them up.
Alright, so took like a little bit of a second to place. If we're just gonna place it for ourselves here, or like we solo place it on ourselves, you might be better off maybe like jumping up real quick to like the high ground or something like that, so that less people can
Yeah.
contest you, right? Like again, kind of getting that high ground advantage. That's also unfortunate that it just gets immediately EMP'd, which sucks. Okay, a little bit, I mean, so when do we use immortality? Immortality we use like when we walked in here. Let's see, why do we use immortality? We use immortality because we got low. Okay, so that's fine. And also, that was a good immortality, right? We kind of ignored the Sigma though, even though he was like shooting at us from behind that entire time. Maybe give me like escape into a high ground or something there. We also just kind of spend a lot of time out in the open, which ends up getting us killed here, right? Again, just maybe using more cover. Standing off to the side of the fight instead of the middle of the fight. Uh-oh, so we got shot by the Junkrat there. Awareness of the fact that Junkrat's there, but then also heal yourself with your heals and immortalities, as well as options to not be dying there.
Well,
Assistance would be appreciated.
Get in here. Regen up.
No, pretty good immortality. Very
Taking
nice.
the immortality field.
Because there you had a bunch of people who were critical and low.
Yeah.
Or sorry, low and in danger.
Fully healed.
Watch just stepping out in the line of fire, right? Just gotta be careful of that.
Let them up.
Okay. So a couple times we end up just firing shots into nothingness. Like so here for example we accidentally fire right clicks in here. Right, we go right click into them, right, when there's nobody to heal there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, get in here. Regen burst activated. Experience tranquility.
And make sure we're not shooting at Sigma when he's grasping. make sure we're paying attention to our Reinhardt. He requested healing, and then also we just need to be thinking in our heads, where the heck is Reinhardt? Where is he at? And paying attention to him and watching him, because we're a support, right? So we need to be watching our tanks and paying attention to him, and it's kind of our fault if he's dying here, because we could have been keeping him alive. So here we don't pay attention to our Reinhardt, who we probably could have kept alive pretty easily had we been looking at him just 3 seconds ago, right? So we want to make sure paying attention, and that again is awareness of paying attention to our surroundings, and then therefore keeping him alive and in the fight. And notice as well, a lot of times when we just left click, it just feels like spamming, and we don't really attempt to aim it. So like, look at this left click here. We shoot it. We left click, left click, left click. It's just into a wall, into the floor, right? It's not. We don't really seem to be intentionally aiming our left clicks. So make sure we're intentionally aiming our left clicks when we are trying to left click. Because here, if we're intentionally aiming our left clicks, we probably could be finishing off the ball pretty easily, right? Who's low HP? If we're intentionally aiming. Okay, let's talk real quick on deaths, because we talked about survivability earlier, but whenever we die, we want to identify what is the reason in which we died, because that's how you self-improve and how you get better, is by identifying why did I die, right? And usually there's 4 different reasons why somebody dies. There is a lack of awareness, there is poor positioning, there is misuse of abilities, and there's over-aggression, right? Such as running into their team, and misuse of abilities would be like not using your mortality or your healing, right, when you die. So you want to identify why did I die, right? Like, what was the reason? Then so once you've identified the reason, right, I'd think of, okay, what could I have done better? So let's say if we were out of position, right? We died because we were out of position. Where could I have been positioning instead, right? So if I was standing over on point, where could I have been standing instead of point, right? Well, maybe I could have been standing, back over here where I have cover to use, right? Or maybe off to the left here where I have cover to use, right? Or something of that sort, right? Where we're thinking about where could I have been instead, right? And that's the type of thing you want to be thinking through, because that is how you improve. Okay. Notice as well, just kind of spam shots that aren't really targeted and nobody needs it. So here, note that we are overhealing, shooting at left clicking at nothing, overhealing, left clicking at nothing, right clicking at nothing, right? And now we're left clicking at something, right? Okay, more left clicking at nothing. Right, left click into the wall, right?
Yeah.
Immortality when people aren't low or in danger. Alright, and then that is game. So let's exit out here. So we're going to go over the main points of the session, do a quick review along with that, and then wrap up the session from there. So let's go over abilities. So abilities, Zarya, big thing on Zarya, right? Abilities, very important on Zarya, because once we have energy, we can actually do things. In fact, like the only times we ever got kills was when we had high energy, right? And we want to have high energy as often as possible, and it also is our tanking. So put effort into your abilities within both of them. Make sure that when we're bubbling, and when we are bubbling, we can push forwards a little bit aggressively. Don't bubble before you turn around the corner, and don't back up too early, right? You want to bubble after people are looking at you, and bubble and back up after bubble is dead, right? On top of that, make sure the big thing is bubble when people are looking at you and shooting at you, right? Especially, I guess you can honestly just simplify that to bubble when people are shooting at you, right? Because they have to be looking at you to shoot at you. So bubble when as many people as possible are shooting at you. Don't bubble up against people who do very, very low damage, or up against people who are like super far away from you and therefore do low damage, right? Make sure that we're just paying attention to where the enemy team is, paying attention to our surroundings so we know when to bubble and whatnot. Real quick, we never actually talked about this, but just something that could help you out a little bit is if you go to your controls and to your Zarya settings, you have bubble projected barrier sensitivity. Have you adjusted this yet?
No, I think no. No, let me check real quick. Where do you go to adjust what?
So you go to controls, to all heroes at the top, Zarya,
Yeah.
and then projected
Mhm.
barrier sensitivity. Now, what this does is when this is at 10%, you have to be literally aiming directly at the person for it to register on that. And when this is at 100%, it's going to be very lenient. In a crowd of people, it might not go to the person you're trying to aim it at. So I would probably recommend lowering this a little bit so that you can target who you're trying to hit with bubble a bit better in crowds of people,
Oh,
especially.
nice.
So my recommendation would be around the 60 to 80 range for that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So, and then other abilities over on Baptiste. Immortality. Immortality is needed when people are low and in danger, and then I think shift usage is honestly pretty good. So, overall, I'd probably say Zarya was more important. On Zarya, I'd probably say it was a medium-high priority for you to work on, whereas on Baptiste, it's probably just a medium priority, right?
Okay.
Then moving on, you have ultimate usage. Ultimates, make sure that we are not holding on to them, that we're not using them. We didn't use them in one of lost fights, but just make sure. Big thing is just don't hold on to them, right? Because I honestly can't give you any more criticism if I haven't seen you use them. But it's a pretty big criticism, to say if you're never using it, it doesn't do anything, right? So make sure we're using them and doing things with them. And then on Baptiste, we used it a little bit more on Baptiste. But let's see, with Baptiste, I think we had some pretty good ultimates on Baptiste. It wasn't that terrible on Baptiste. So the big one is just using it more often, right? And make sure we're not holding on to it. And then overall, that goes to a medium priority, right? Mechanics, making sure that we are tracking people, make sure that you're not left clicking or right clicking or whatever into nothing. Like, don't just be staring at walls and doing this, right? Or staring off into Narnia and doing that, right? Or left clicking or whatever, right? Just make sure when we're shooting that we're actually shooting at things. Make sure that within mechanics, left click happens when you can be left clicking, right click happens outside of range. You can also right click melee to finish off a target, right? Moving on as well. Within mechanics, make sure we're keeping good target priority, right? Don't shoot at don't shoot at tanks when you have the option to shoot at other people, right? Shoot at supports and DPS, and then on top of that, you can shoot at tanks if they're low out of position or they're the only thing you can shoot at, right? Actions per minute was a pretty massive thing, right? Making sure we're doing things. Don't sit around, don't do nothing, don't just kind of sit outside of the fight. Make sure you're participating, right? Shoot constantly, don't stop shooting, don't sit on the sideline doing nothing, right? Just make sure you're actively trying to do things, right? And then overall, I'd probably say mechanics goes to probably a medium priority. Moving on to actually to spread this out a bit more. I'm trying to think. I want to spread this out a little bit more just to make it easy. Trying to think. Actually, you know what? Never mind. Yeah, that's fine. Well, that's medium. We'll keep it there. Then moving on, you have positioning. Positioning, big, massive one. Make sure you're using cover, right? Don't stand out in the open because that got us killed a ton, right? Make sure we're taking high grounds, make sure we're not dropping randomly from high grounds and using cover. And those are the big main ones on Zarya, and in general, from what we talked about. And then overall, that probably goes to a high priority, just because it got us killed a ton, and it meant that we weren't in great positioning, and we ended up dying and not being able to do anything. Moving on, awareness, make sure you're paying attention to your surroundings and watching your health bar, requesting healing when we're low, and I'd recommend having that bound, just so you can get people healing you faster. Besides that, make sure you're paying attention to your surroundings, like who's where's the enemy team, where's my team, who's shooting at who, so you know when to use bubbles. Paying attention to your team, are they in danger, are they low, so we know when to be using immortality. Paying attention to health bars, so we're not overhealing, right? That was another thing in mechanics I forgot to mention. Overhealing is something else, right, that we want to make sure we're paying attention to. So make sure we're not overhealing, right? Paying attention to health bars and our teammates in need of it, right? Audio awareness, paying attention to your audio, right? So we know when people are around us and behind us. Paying attention to kill feed, right? What's happening in kill feed, right? When you're up 1 to 2, or sorry, up or down 1 to 2, that's an advantage or disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight. And then when you've won a fight, you get super aggressive. When you've lost it, you play passive. You look to get out if possible, or you let them kill you. And then you don't use ult in won or lost fights, right? And that's the summary. Overall, probably say that goes to a medium high priority, and then the survivability is last. probably goes to a medium priority. Make sure you're staying alive. Just don't let them, don't die constantly, right? And then therefore you're able to do more things. Real quickly, that was because I'm thinking through that as I'm going is a little bit out of order. I'm gonna put that in a numbered list for you now of what needs work the most and what
Okay,
what to
perfect.
work on. Number 1, I would probably say goes to your number 1 I'd probably say goes to your positioning. Number 2 goes to your bubble usage. Number 3 goes to your mechanics. Number 4 goes to your awareness. Number 5 goes to your tied for ultimate usage and survivability, and then number 6. Oh, and then I know that's it. Wait, yeah, that was it. That was the order, right? On Baptiste, your ability usage would just be slightly lower, and I'd probably say your ability usage instead of being number 2 would probably be would be at the bottom with the ultimate usage and the awareness. Or sorry, what was it? The ultimate usage and the
Survival. Yeah,
survivability. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what it was.
yeah.
So, that's the order for everything. Do you have any questions on anything we've talked about, or just anything else in general?
No, I think, thank you, man. I think, yeah, I agree. It's super useful. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, man.
Yep, no problem. So I just stopped